Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. So this one, of course, Maryland Office of Attorney General doesn't do a very good job of providing information for their videos. Um, I had seen this one previously. Um, don't quote me on this. I want to say that this guy had been involved in the court over something to do with a custody dispute or something of that nature. Um, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had been involved in court at some point, and he is going to this place to basically um, force police to unsubscribe him from life. All right, so this guy enters in, and just based off his body language alone, it obviously catches the attention of these people over here. You can see them starting to, and also this guy coming in and acting the way he is, trying to help in calming this person down. It gets their attention, and so they start to come over to see what's going on. No telling what can be heard right now. There's obviously no no audio going on right now. But you see this person back here waving their hand in a calm down kind of motion, and then boom, he pulls the gun out. So he took a minute before he did it himself. I suspect that he was wanting to force them to do it, force them to shoot so that he wouldn't have to do it. I don't know. I don't know what's going through this guy's head. The only thing I know that went through it was a projectile, but if he was going to do it, he would have done it at home. He would have done it in his car. He wouldn't have gone all the way down the sidewalk and then come into this place and put on this little show. I think that he was wanting to force someone else to do the thing for him. And I think that it wasn't up until the point with him laying down on the ground that he finally built up enough mental courage to do the thing. So boom, they freak out, obviously. And here is the problem with walking backwards. So pay attention to this guy first. Boom, he falls down, and then this person, boom, falls right on him. So that's the problem with trying to walk backwards. There's a technique of, if you're going to be walking backwards, drag your feet as you walk, so that you can feel obstructions and would be less likely to slip over those obstructions. But I mean, a rug on the ground is pretty damn flat, right? And so that idea of dragging your feet in an environment like this, yeah, you would be dragging the rug at that point. So it's also going to be situationally dependent. You're environment dependent on how you would do that kind of tactic. The best way to move from point A to point B is to turn towards point B, move your hips to it, look at it, and go towards it. Unfortunately, that also puts your back towards the threat. In an environment like this, it could be better to take those steps, especially if you work in this environment, right? So, like, you work here, you know what the obstructions are. You could take high steps as you're walking backwards to avoid slipping on these rugs right here. So court security, court bailiffs is a form of law enforcement. However, it is a form of law enforcement that generally does not require a high level of training. Court security / court bailiff is a profession that has been staffed by agencies in such a manner that it's almost similar to how large box security companies do their staffing. They almost hire anybody. It's kind of like the jails and prisons. They too also almost kind of hire anybody. And so, although court security / court bailiff is law enforcement, it's not to the same level as law enforcement that you would expect. The training requirements are a lot less. The hiring requirements are less. And so you can see a lot of places employing retired people who are very old. And that one has always struck me as interesting, especially to see. I mean, like, it's one thing to be, in your 40s or 50s and retiring from the agency because you got your 20 years in and then go to work for the courthouse. But it's another thing to be like in your 60s and 70s and working in the courthouse. Um, I think there's a cutoff, right? And so, you start talking about age discrimination, blah blah blah. Um, but let's be realistic. If you're, for the most part, now I know there's some people are the exception, right? But for the majority, if you're 70 years old, do you really need to be working in a position that could require you to fight people? I don't think that that's a good idea. Um, and it sucks because I know the retired law enforcement guys, they want something to do, they want to continue serving, and the people in charge of the courthouse are like, hey, here we have these bailiff positions, not a whole lot goes on. Yeah, you can work. And they're throwing them a bone. I get it. But at the same time, it is a public safety position. It's a law enforcement position, and a capable person needs to be in that role. Now, obviously, these people are not geriatrics. They're younger, but I mean, you can still kind of just tell that they are the lesser trained kind of persons. There's also an absence of body armor. Unfortunately, agencies, and it's often sheriffs who are responsible for the bailiffs, and so they see them and even look at like his cuffs. Like he don't even have a cuff case. This guy looks like he has one of those strapped cuff cases, or not a cuff case, but one of those strapped cuff holders. This guy looks like he's just stuffed his cuffs into his belt line. Um, but what I was saying was, sheriffs are oftentimes responsible for providing court security, and the bailiffs usually get the hand-me-downs. They get like the used equipment that came from the road, and they don't get as good equipment as the people on the road get. And so, a lot of times they won't even give them body armor because they say, "Oh, it's a courthouse. There's a metal detector at the door. Why do you need a bulletproof vest for? You got a metal detector." Okay. Obviously, this guy made it into the courthouse with a gun, right? Um, the entry point can be an area where someone can come in with a gun and start shooting. So, yeah, I firmly believe that the bailiffs need to be equipped the same as the people working the road. It also looks as though um, they only have pistols. Looking at their duty belts, see if I can back it up. This guy looks like all he has is a gun, maybe a radio, same thing. We can't see much of this guy because he's got a jacket on. This guy, a gun, maybe a magazine, maybe cuffs. That's it. No taser. Doesn't look like any pepper spray, um, which is wrong. If you're going to be having people work in this environment, um, they need to have the other tools necessary for their job. Um, in some places, the court security may be a contracted service. They may not even be law enforcement officers, and so now you're dealing with a private security company that is providing this kind of function, and that company may not want to provide all that stuff. And then this dude coming in, like, check out his hair. Like, that is like some ridiculously long hair. And again, what I was talking about earlier with the lesser standards for being hired as a bailiff. This shows right here. I get it. There's different hairstyles, whatever, but that is not the hairstyle for an armed professional. Like, you shouldn't be having your hair hanging down like that, especially if you're a dude. All right. So, like I was saying earlier, entry control. So, people talk about, metal detectors. The metal detectors are going to keep this place safe. It's going to keep guns from coming in. Not necessarily. The guns can still come in, and although they may not be able to be smuggled in past the metal detector because it, could likely detect it, uh, it's not going to stop any guns at all from coming in the front door into the entry control area. And as you can see here, this guy made it into the building with a gun. When it comes to school security, and people always talking about, we need metal detectors in the schools. Every school needs metal detectors. We need metal detectors at all the doors in schools. The thing that these people are not thinking about is the fact that someone could come in through the door and start the attack right then and there at the location where the metal detector is at, and then just shoot their way past that point and enter the building. Metal detectors alone are not the full answer. It is a layered approach, like an onion. You do need armed personnel to harden the target to make it more safe. And obviously, a courthouse, obviously an airport is going to have that layered approach. They're going to have the metal detectors. In some cases, they may have X-ray machines, and they're going to have the armed staff working those posts to be able to repel any threats. So, yeah, the security system, the security protocols worked in this environment. He was not able to go past the checkpoint here, but he was still able to make it in. Now, he very quickly, let's go back to where he does pull the gun out. No one has a gun out at this point, and he is able to very quickly reach in, pull this gun out, and he has it. Now, he's got to point it himself, thankfully. And I'll back this up even just a few frame shots here. So, at this point, right in here, if he wanted, he could have pointed right at them and started shooting, and none of them would have been able to do anything about it. And then finally, we see one gun come out. So it can be very easy for a person to enter into a checkpoint area with armed personnel and pull a gun out on them and start shooting before they can ever respond. So there's some other techniques and tactics with these kind of checkpoints. One, don't just have one person on a checkpoint like this. If you do have a concern of armed intruders, you need to have multiple people. Unfortunately, some places won't do that. They won't have more than one person. They'll just stick one person at the entrance and think that they're good. Sometimes they'll have two. But realistically, there needs to be more than two for this entry point area, and they all do not need to be together. There needs to be one who is nearby, able to monitor that area, but is placed in a location where if a person came in and started an attack, they would not be part of the team that is getting attacked first. They would not be receiving that first volley of fire. The other people would be the attention grabbers, the bullet magnet, so to speak, the speed bump. And while the person would be focused on, shooting at them, that other person who was staged at a different spot would be able to flank and come in and stop the threat. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So it doesn't make sense to put let's say you have 3 people assigned to entry control. It doesn't make sense to put all 3 people in that same spot in an environment like this. Because an armed intruder could come in and just start going pop, 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 and then no one would be able to respond. And then they would be able to very easily walk past this checkpoint here and gain access to the rest of the facility. So have 1 or 2 people at the front here as the attention grabbers, so to speak. And if something were to happen, your third person would be offline, off to the side somewhere, still able to monitor this area, but would be able to counter assault and flank this any aggressors and stop the threat and prevent them from pushing any deeper into the facility. Alright, not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.